Okay guys, so in this video we're just going to talk a little bit about what to expect from your first driving lesson. So you will have booked your first driving lesson already with your driving instructor. You're going to want to make that at a time that's convenient for you, when you're not going to be tired or stressed, not maybe a Saturday morning after you've been out the Saturday night before. Your instructor's going to come and meet you usually at your house, but there's a lot of instructors that are flexible that can meet you at work or college, uni, whatever you do in the daytime. But just bear in mind, if it is the first lesson, you're probably not going to be able to drive from the location that they meet you. So the instructor is going to take you to what we call nursery roads, which are roads that are really easy to drive around, usually have really 90-degree empty corners, empty roads, so that you can drive around without causing too much of a hazard to other road users, because you're going to be going really slowly. So if you're worried about the first lesson, if you're thinking, what do I do? What am I going to expect? You need to have your driving license already. That's going to be a provisional driving license. So the green card, you'll see other people who've got a driving license, they've got the pink one. You're going to have to apply for your green provisional driving license before you even meet your driving instructor, because to legally learn to drive, you've got to have a driving license with you. So the instructor's going to want to have a look at this driving license to make sure that you've got one and to make sure it's valid. You'd be surprised. Next, they're going to check your eyesight. You need to be able to see at least 20 meters in front of you, or you need to be able to read a number plate at least 20 meters in front of you to be able to drive on the road. And that's not just for taking your driving test, although they will test that at the beginning of your driving test. You need to have that consistent standard, minimum standard, the whole time you've got a driving license. If you need to use glasses, that's absolutely fine. You can bring your glasses on driving lessons and wear them. If though you need to use glasses to drive and take a driving test, you'll have that on the back of your driving license. It's a license code, and if you get caught not using your glasses while you're driving, if you've got that license code, you're going to get in trouble. So if you need glasses, use them. So your driving instructor's turned up at your house or your place of work. You're going to meet them. They're going to check your license and your eyesight. Next, they're going to invite you to probably sit in the passenger side. Unless you live in a nursery area already, you're going to sit in the passenger seat and your instructor's going to drive you to the area that you're going to start to learn in. While you're driving, your instructor might chat to you, get to know you a little bit, because hey, you're going to spend a lot of time in the car with this guy or lady, and you're going to want to get to know them. You're going to want to be their friend. So hey, let's start to get to know each other straight away. So your driving instructor's driving to the starting area, the nursery roads, talking to you about steering. How do you hold the steering wheel? 10 and 2 o'clock. How do you use the gears? Palming technique that you're going to learn about, moving through 1, 2, 3. How do you use the pedals? What am I doing with the clutch? If you're in an auto, it's going to be a completely different situation. You're not going to have the gear stick, you're not going to have the clutch, you're going to only have to use 2 pedals, but you're only going to get an automatic license, which is going to restrict you to driving automatic cars. Okay, so this is an important one. If you're going to go on holiday and you need to hire a car, you're only going to be able to hire automatic cars. You can't borrow your friend's manual car. You're not qualified to drive it. If you have an auto license though, you can upgrade it, but you have to do another driving test. Why not just learn the whole thing in the first place? To be fair though, the future is electric cars. Electric cars are automatic, so it swings and roundabouts. It's depending on what you're planning to use your license for. If you really love driving, you're going to want to go the whole hog and get a manual driving license and a manual driving instructor to teach you how to drive a manual car. Here's another top tip. Your driving instructor will have one of these. This is an ADI badge. If he doesn't have one of these, he's not a driving instructor. You can get these in 2 colors. This is a green one. You can also get them in pink with a triangle. Talk a little bit more about why there's 2 different types in another video. You're going to hear this a lot in your driving lessons, MSPSL. So as you approach a junction, they might say, I'm checking my mirrors, check, check. I am going to signal. I'm checking my position and my speed, and then I'm looking. So your driving instructor can talk to you a lot about what they're doing. If it takes 5 minutes, if it takes 10 minutes to get to the nursery area, trust me, it's worth it. You do not want to start a driving lesson on a main road, like a motorway, an A road, the M1. That's going to be a nightmare. Your driving instructor is fully qualified to teach you how to drive. They've been doing this a long time. It probably is not their first driving lesson. So where they tell you is the perfect place to start learning to drive, trust them, it's going to be the perfect place to start learning how to drive. So you've got to the nursery area, you're switching sides with your driving instructor, so it's your turn to now drive. This is the fun bit. This is where you get to be in control of a car for the first time. If it's your first lesson ever behind the wheels of a car, your instructor's not going to expect you to drive off straight away. Hey, get in the car, now drive me around the corner. That's not going to happen. Your driving instructor is going to start with teaching you the cockpit drills. So the cockpit drills are DSSM. There's loads of acronyms and mnemonics in driving that help you remember all of these little things that we like you to know. So DSSM, your instructor will talk you through it properly, but it's door, seat, steering wheel, seat belt and mirrors. That's the cockpit drill, the stuff you need to do when you get in the car. Everyone's a different size, shape, height, so everyone's going to need the seat in a different place. The steering wheel might not reach me if I sit forward because I'm a little bit taller than some other people. What else? Seat, adjust it. Steering wheel, adjusted it. So I don't want to have my arms locked out like that. It's going to be uncomfortable. My shoulders are going to get tired. Steering wheel and mirrors. Your mirrors are your biggest safety feature. Your instructor will talk a lot about mirrors, and I mean a lot about mirrors, because they're going to stop you from crashing. If you can get a grip on mirrors early on, it's going to help you so much later on in your driving life. It's people that don't check their mirrors that have accidents. So if you've got a really good driving instructor, they will talk to you constantly about mirrors. You've done the cockpit drill, your door's closed, your seat's set up, your steering wheel's at a good distance, and your mirrors are sorted. Next, you're going to move on to controls and instruments. By controls, I mean the gears, the pedals, the steering wheel, and the instruments are what you can see in front of you on the dashboard. The dashboard usually, in most cars, will give you information like speed of the car, speed of the engine, we call that the RPM, how much fuel you've got on board, and how hot the engine is. Not all cars show the same information. Some cars give you more information. Some cars have a little screen. My car's got a good screen with a map, but not all cars have that. Some cars have more, other cars have less, but you've got the basic information there, and your instructor will talk you through what you've got on the car that you're driving in, so you understand all of the controls, all of the instruments, all of the buttons. Like, hey, which side's the indicator on? Do I go left and right, or to go left? And your instructor will tell you all of that. If you've got a question, ask. There's so much to learn in learning to drive, and the number one thing that I have with my pupils is they don't ask. And I always say to them, hey, if I say something and it doesn't make sense, ask me to explain it again. If I say something and you go, yep, got it, and then 10 seconds later you've forgotten it because I'm hitting you with some new information, ask me to repeat it, because hey, I've just talked to you how the gas works and now I'm coming on to the brake. You've just forgotten how the gas works. You're going to really need that information when we move off. If you can't remember, ask. If it doesn't make sense, ask. Just ask. These driving instructors are a font of knowledge. They've gone through rigorous training. They've done so much work to become a driving instructor. They know literally everything. Should literally know everything about driving, learning to drive, how to operate the car, and how to drive safely on the roads. So if there's any questions, anything that you don't know, we're the guys that you need to hit up for answers, especially if you're taking lessons. You're paying this guy to fill your head with driving knowledge. Use it. So you know about controls, instruments, steering, seatbelt. It's all done. What's next? Moving off and stopping. So here you're going to put into practice all of the stuff that you've learned about controls. How to use the pedals is what you're going to do next. And I promise you, if you're a nervous driver for the first time, this will not be scary. The car will not move at more than 5 or 6 miles an hour for the first time. And that's just walking pace, or maybe a light jog. It's not scary. It's really, really easy. Remember as well, your driving instructor's got pedals on their side of the car. If anything goes wrong, they can stop you, they can take over control, they can explain what happened and then give you back control. If there's anything to do with steering, they can reach over and assist you with steering from their side of the car. And I promise you, they've done this 101 times. If anything goes wrong, they're not going to let you crash their car, because definitely they have more lessons to do. So once you've got proficient with moving off and stopping, moving the car, stopping the car, how do the pedals work? The next natural progression would be how to move off and stop safely. So talking about mirrors, talking about a 6-point check. What's a 6-point check? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. You're going to go through this a lot with your driving instructor. This is the check that you use to set off and stop safely when you're moving off and stopping at the side of the road. Natural progression from controls and instruments is how to move off and stop safely. Drive off, stop on the left. Drive off and stop on the left. You're going to do it a few times. With learning to drive, it's not just a one-time only deal. If you do it over and over again, it builds a habit. And trust me, when you first start learning to drive, it's going to be really, really clunky. Your brain isn't used to using your feet in such a fine and controlled way. So when you first start driving, you're going to be smashing down the gas, you're going to be smashing on the brake, it's going to be uncomfortable and clunky. Your instructor will talk you through how to make the brain to foot muscle connection so that you can drive more smoothly. If they take you to a busy road and it's scary, say, hey, I'm not really comfortable on this road, it's quite busy, Can we go somewhere quieter? So just bear with it. No one was born able to drive. Rome wasn't built in a day. It's going to take a little while to learn to drive. I promise you. We've all had the question. You're going to want to know from your instructor how long it's going to take you to learn to drive. The DVSA did a study a while ago, and it takes people on average 40 hours of tuition, driving tuition, that's car time, to learn to drive. 40 hours. That's average, and it goes up with age. So the older you are, it takes you slightly longer. Now everybody learns differently, so it could take you a lot less. It could also take you a lot more, so factor that in when you're thinking about budgets. So when you ask your driving instructor how long it takes you to learn how to drive, or how long it's going to take you to learn how to drive, they don't know you yet. They haven't seen you start to learn. But once you're a few lessons in, you could say, how fast am I progressing? Am I going quickly? Am I going slowly? And then maybe you can ask for some homework, if you haven't been getting it already, to progress yourself faster. Okay, let's think of it like this. If you went to college to learn a new skill like bricklaying or plumbing, and you only went in for 2 hours a week into college, how long would it take you to learn that new skill like bricklaying or plumbing? It would take a long time. With college, you go in, what, 4 or 5 days a week? And you go in probably at least half a day to learn how to lay bricks and do plumbing. I don't know, I'm not a plumber, so what plumbers do when you call them and they fix your boiler, that stuff. How long does it take? It takes a long time, and you learn it intensively over a long period of time as well. With driving, you're in the car for 2 hours a week, 1 hour maybe. You might take 2 lessons a week, but you're still not taking a big chunk of time to learn to drive. You're still taking massive gaps to learn to drive. So you get something we call skill fade, which is where you end the lesson at this level and then you pick up the next lesson at this level, and it takes about 5-10 minutes to bring your skill back up to match the level which you last left the last lesson. What I recommend to my students is that we learn on YouTube. So I'll send them little videos and links. So let's say we just did a lesson on roundabouts, I'll send them 5 roundabout videos. Tell them to watch it every day, just 5 minutes a day, because it keeps it in your head. If I give you 5 things to learn, it's going to be difficult to remember that in a week's time if you haven't done anything to keep it in your head. So keep at it. Read, YouTube, watch other people driving. Hey, do you know what? I had one person that even sat on the top deck of buses, always managed to get the front seat of a bus and pretended to be the bus driver. It sounds silly, but that, even just alone, will keep driving in your head so that you can remember what to do the next lesson. So every time the bus went around corners, she'd be thinking mirror, signal, position, speed, look, and then, hey, do you know what? She progressed a lot more quickly than if she didn't do that. So that's basically what you should be expecting on your first driving lesson. Hopefully it won't be such a daunting prospect now. Go out, book your first driving lesson, and enjoy driving. We're going to be creating so much more content like this. If there's anything that you feel like you want to know, or you want to see, or anything that we could help you with, comment below. I'm Francis the Instructor for Get Licensed Driving School. I'll catch you guys in the next video.